Thank you for coming. This one is going to be in English. I'm sorry for that. We could do it in Spanish, but probably it's better doing it this way. Before I go into this, let me ask you a question, and let me recognize something about myself. So I'm a nerd. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. So my question here is there here that has ever played Dungeons and Dragons? Raise your hands. Wow, a few hands. Cool. Do you still play? Sometimes? Cool, thank you. Okay, I was scared about my references. You probably will get it anyway. So let me just think about moving a little bit more seriously into the topic about what has happened to the context in which advertisers are evolving to distribute their campaigns across the people. So if we move something like 30 years ago already, that's a long time, you realize that then things were quite simple. It wasn't simple, but they were simpler than today. So you have television, you have radio, you have print, you have cinemas, and you had outdoors. And that was pretty much all. So you were actually able to manage your advertising investments on a meaningful and sensible way. You had good tools to measure across most of those media, and that went pretty well at the time. But Vinton Cerf decided to invent the internet and complicated everybody's life. And then we started to create a more and more complicated environment, like a hydra started to have more options for the audience. So very quickly in the 2000s, you remember, you were there, you were around, we had YouTube popping up, we have digital advertising, what's today the traditional boring display stuff. You had social media with the Facebook at the time, now called Meta. So things started to change, and people like me started to have many more options to consume media. And guess what? We started to change our behaviors. And if this trend keeps going, and what we have today, it's a complete, I would say, realm of different kinds of providers like Netflix, right away, right now, Amazon Prime Video starting to roll out their ad system, TikToks, connected TVs, fast TV, and guess what is going to come next, right? So that has a massive impact on the way in which people like me and you consume their content. And guess what? It's not even related with age. It's not related with, so people are just changing in the way in which they get to their contents. And that means that you have to follow those changes to be able to deliver your advertising. So let me share with you, okay, so Dungeons and Dragons is a very fan, but this is a bit about business. So let me remind you, and this is maybe only the sales pitch and what we are actually doing together with Nexplora. So FLUZO, it's a Spanish startup, now operating in 11, soon to be 12 countries, that has created a technology that you probably know already because we have been presenting this for a while, is capable to measure the exposure of people to all media, to pretty much all media. There is a couple of things we don't do, but we are capable to do all the audiovisuals and most of the digital media. And we are capable to measure on the same individuals, thanks to the Nexplora panel, on the same individuals across all devices, all moments of the day, and all places. So we are providing what we call a single source, real observational measurement of how people are receiving their advertising or their content. We'll see that. And together with Nexplora, we are transforming this information in actual insights that the advertisers can use to, and are using actually, to optimize and change the way in which they address the advertising to their customers. So what's coming next are 3 examples of how advertisers are using this information. If you think about, and if you have ever played Dungeons & Dragons, or you think, imagine that you're playing, or Baldur's Gate if you're video gamers, right? Think about the importance of the map to understand where you are. Regardless if you are lost in the wilderness or you are exploring a dungeon, have you ever played Doom? It's the same stuff. It's a dungeon full of undead evil creatures that want your skin. Well, this is a bit similar. We need to understand the map of where we stand so we are capable to take decisions. And that's what IKEA in Spain did with FLUZO. So at the very beginning, we started measuring, and IKEA realized that they have a challenge, right? So they were actually doing a lot of advertising because IKEA is a premium top-level advertiser, and they realized that their campaigns actually were having a lot of reach and a lot of frequency on the targets that they didn't want, or did want less, right? And specifically on the 18 to 24 years old, which are the moment where you are educating new consumers in your brand, they were actually falling behind. So they were very successful with the 55-64. But that was, in terms of reach, you see that there is a very strong difference between one segment and the other. And the same goes for frequency. And everybody knows that strong correlation between frequency and outcomes of the campaigns, right? Not only in terms of age, but also in terms of family status. So IKEA has a special interest on reaching couples with kids because they are primary targets of what they sell on their stores. And for them, actually what they found it out is that they were not very successful with their campaigns. So what we did with them? So we started to work now 3 years ago, and we provided them with a map of how their cross-media campaigns were reaching the people. And thanks to that, they quickly understood that the challenge for them is that they were using not the wrong channels, but not channels enough to get the right people. So the first, and they didn't do this overnight. It took some time for them to understand and to continuously monitor what they were doing on the campaign. So this requires some long-term planning. But they started to change the mix by adding new media channels where they were able to catch the actual people they wanted. So the 18s to 24. And now what? They got very nice results because of this. So the first is that they compared 2022 with 2023 data. And this is how digital produced incremental reach on the segments, over television, right? So you see that in 2022, the incremental reach of digital over television on the core target was 0. Okay, so that was not very good. Digital wasn't supporting and helping IKEA reaching their people. Now they started to change, and guess what? That started to work. 1 year later, they were getting a decent incremental reach on this target because of this. So very good news. But that's not the only good news. It's because they started to diversify and to understand better the map of how people were consuming or were receiving the advertising. They were also successful into increasing the reach across all the media. So in the past, digital was providing some incremental or on the other segments. But after the changes, digital was providing a lot more incremental reach on those segments. So that was a clear goal and clear success for IKEA. But not only that, so we have already said that there is a relation between frequency and outcomes of the campaign. We will repeat this message many times because it's important and you know it. But in terms of average frequency, we got also strong changes. So it's not that we were actually getting more reach, but the combined reach frequency of television plus the different digital channels actually delivered a higher frequency on the key target, close to 3 times, actually, a better average frequency, which is massive. You can imagine the results, but also on the other targets. So understanding the map of how your campaigns are reaching the people and understanding how the behavior of people is changing will help you optimize your media budgets. And that's why IKEA is successfully achieving. Let's move to another scenario. We are still going to talk about how to reach the right people, but this time from a different perspective. So imagine that you have a tool, so the X-ray vision ring that allows you to understand how the country people in Italy are consuming media and how they're changing this consumption. And let's use this information to optimize how you are impacting the people. So this time we are going to change the way in which we analyze. So let's take the campaign on their average numbers. If you look at this campaign, it looks like a very fine campaign. 67% of reach on total, 64 on television. So XT is the partner that did with us this project for Nissan. Actually, this is a real Nissan data. So XT actually on their connected TVs and online video delivered an additional 2.7 of incremental reach on a total close to 9% reach. So very nice data with good frequencies, right? This looks great. But, because there is always a but, when you start analyzing the data, but instead of analyzing the aggregate, you think about how people are consuming essentially TV, then you get things that are not as you would like them. So we started to create a product that lets you analyze reach and frequency based on the level of TV consumption. And we split the world in, very simplistic maybe, but we split the world in three groups. Non-TV viewers or low TV viewers, medium TV viewers, and high TV viewers. You can imagine the differences. And then we analyze how the campaign behaved across those three targets. So what happens is that your average, which is the total blue bar on the right, you're right? I'm dyslexic, so. The average seems a good frequency, 4. But then you split this frequency and the distribution across the different segments of behavior, and you realize that, yeah, your average is 4. But your low TV viewers are seeing 1 point, not very good. Your medium TV viewers, the same. And your high TV viewers are, or maybe, heavily overexposed. So if you think about how you are distributing your frequency, and let's repeat, frequency, it's key for the outcomes of the campaign, you may not be distributing your campaigns in the right way. And this is because the map has changed. We will see it at the beginning. And if you calculate there the cake on top, it's how the impacts were distributed on television. So if you think about it, because actual impacts on individuals, you see that there is a massive bias towards high TV viewers. And that's very normal. So what XT managed to do with their inventory is to rebalance this to get an even, at least on the inventory they deliver, an even frequency across all the segments. So that's the great thing of digital, that you can't do branding campaigns or campaigns at all without television at this scale, but digital and on-demand and video online and connected and Netflix, all of those media are going to help you to rebalance frequency across all the segments of consumers. In terms of results, so 5% of incremental reach because of this. Actually, something that surprises us is that 26% of the people on the low TV viewers are non-TV viewers, so are people that you will never get them through television. This is something that has to weight, has a big weight, because there is a correlation between young people and that. There's something that are very, very important. And if you wanted to get those extra data through television, that would have meant a 15% increase on the TV budget. So it has a strong economic impact. Not only that, but because frequency, I repeat myself a lot, I'm sorry, because frequency has a big impact on the outcomes, we were capable to analyze how the dual impact has changed the outcomes in terms of advertising awareness, in terms of brand spontaneous recall, prompted recall, and purchase intent. So the people that were exposed the right number of times through TV and on-demand, or in this particular case, XT inventory, were very successful. And that's essentially a challenge that all the advertisers have on the table, right? So it's not just, you can not think anymore about an average frequency, because they are going to deliver unbalanced frequency to your segments. So let's move now into final. So the Beholder, for those that don't know, the Beholder is one of the archetypical creators of Dungeons and Dragons. It's a creator, it's massively curious, it's like me. They consume media across multiple devices, sometimes simultaneously, and they are very consumed. Everything new that comes pops up. So looks a lot like the consumers out there, right? So now let's think about how do we analyze things that are a little bit beyond traditional advertising. So traditional advertising is ads on TV or on computer, right? So things like content. And for this, we actually choose to do a project on, I don't know if any one of you knows about Kings League. Probably somebody is in the sports industry, you will realize that, but it's not necessarily, it's very Spanish. So Kings League, it's a kind of sports competition organized by Gerard Piqué, the Barca player, that it's a combination of football with celebrities, with esports, and with real reality shows. So it's a very, very funny mix, was very successful, is very successful. And what they decided is to broadcast this across many new channels, fundamentally YouTube and Twitch. Then there was a lot of TikTokers and casters using the channels, and then there was some TV on top of it. So obviously FLUZO was especially well suited to measure this diversity, right? And actually there was a lot of sponsors participating in this, okay? So sports, clothing, energy drinks, you can imagine the kinds, okay? So what we actually achieved to measure is that this kind of content, which is essentially branded, sponsored content, so it's a different kind of advertising, had a lot of impact on non-standard channels, right? So remember the beholder, saying things in strange places, if you want. So we got like, well, a good reach, so 9% reach across the world population. It's quite a good number, right? But look at the number on the 18-24, up to 25. So 1 out of 4 Spaniards on that age have seen Kings League. It's a massive thing, right? So it was very, very relevant. But, and this is where it comes, it's very interesting, is that there was many influencers and very relevant Twitch casters in this, participating or commenting this. This guy, it's called Ibai. I don't know if you know him. He's a celebrity with millions of people, followers in the Spanish world, so not just in Spain, but also in Latin America. And Colacao, which you probably know if you have ever been to Spain, it's one of those brands is very hard to escape. Actually are working with him doing sponsored content on a very relevant anti-bullying content, so the very, very social responsibility oriented. It's very nice what they're doing. And actually, the combination of those two things enabled Idilia, which is the Coca-Cola, the Colacao brand owner, to understand how Kings League was influencing or was impacting their brand on top of the advertising, because they are measuring the advertising too. In this particular case, the most relevant thing was the reach of the eBay content on the men to 18 to 24, and on the men on 25 to 34, which is, okay, you expect the very young ones seeing Twitch, but the 25 to 34 was like a surprise for them. So it's an additional way to understand and to measure things that go beyond the more traditional advertising, where brands are actually doing every day more. So this is, I hope that those 3 examples give you some ideas of the adventures that you can have around measuring and understanding the map on cross-media. This is a little bit at the end of the presentation. I hope that you find them interesting. I would like just to have a word for the companies that have been on this adventure so far and give thanks to them, because thanks to them we are essentially evolving this new concept of understanding advertising. And this is it. So let's, Niels and the Dungeons and Dragons guys will understand it. Let's level up with this. Thank you, everyone.